You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom. What's up, everyone? Tim Uchuk here. It's not fall yet. It's still summer. I'm not going to say fall, but it's coming really fast. I just finished having lunch at one of my favorite spots called the Yellow Deli. I was going to actually record this prior to, but the topic that I'm sharing with you guys is something called decision fatigue. And the reason I didn't record it before was because I'm doing intermittent fasting these days, which means I don't eat from the evenings until later in the morning, so I get pretty hangry, and so that's related to what I want to talk about here today, and it's really about how to. I always use the analogy of setting up guardrails or like bumper rails. If you remember the bowling alleys when you were young, those bumper rails so you couldn't throw gutter balls. How can we structure your world and your life and your business in an intentional way so that we can minimize this thing called decision fatigue? And again, just to go through the definition of decision fatigue, it's that every single decision that you make, regardless of its importance, so if it's a small trivial decision or a really important big decision, they all consume the same amount of calories, and there's a diminishing return to your ability to make good quality decisions. So to the extent that you can minimize and or eliminate unnecessary decisions throughout the day, you're going to improve the quality of the decisions for the ones that you do have to make. And so that's the game. That's what I want to talk about with you guys here today. But before, I just want to press pause and I want to mention to you guys, I've watched the growth of this podcast, and honestly, when I first started doing this, you know, obviously I wanted to kind of share my journey and help out as much as possible. But part of it, honestly, was to document, almost like timestamp my thoughts, partly for a legacy for my kids. So one day they could look back and hear, you know, what did Dad do? What did he think about? So that's honestly part of this podcast. I didn't expect for anyone to really discover it, but I'm really encouraged and excited to see the growth. I've gotten some amazing feedback. So if you're listening to this, I just want to thank you for even carving out a little bit of your busy time and schedule. I hope it's been fun to listen to. It's definitely the best way to learn is to teach. That's one of the things that I preach in my business and our coaching program. So, you know, I'm learning just as much as I'm running these podcasts. So really, really cool to see you guys checking it out, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys on board. So getting back to decision fatigue. So I want to just share some real practical examples around what you can do to minimize and eliminate the unnecessary decisions so that you can make better quality decisions, and you're just going to feel better at the end of the day. And of course, if you make better decisions, even, you know, incrementally better on a day-to-day basis, it's going to compound over time, and it's going to stack up, and it's going to make for a big difference in your world. You're going to look back, you know, 3 months from now, a year from now, if you're able to actually make improvements in these areas, and you're going to see some huge wins. You won't see it immediately, but trust me, it's going to compound. Okay, so the obvious one is, and I was made fun of at my business for a couple years ago. I went to the store and I bought a bunch of black shirts, and I said, you know what, I don't want to think anymore about what I have to wear in the mornings. I just want to wake up, throw on the same thing, and then go to work. Because I was, you know, at the time when I started doing this, I was going into work at, you know, 5:30 in the morning. So I had so many decisions to make. That was one I didn't want to make. So I was made fun of, and so to this day, I wear mostly black shirts, and that's why. That's one decision I don't want to make. In terms of our food, so talking about the home life, having themes throughout the week for the types of meals you're going to be making. So, for example, on Tuesdays, vegetarian, Wednesdays, chicken, something like that. And then pre-select, your top three favorite things to make in those categories. So you've got like three options each weekday, and then maybe have a wild card, 1 or 2 days out of the week where you just grab something random from a recipe book. But that is, it's such a common one where you're asking the question, what are we going to eat today? So that's another obvious one. When it comes to structuring your calendar, this is a really big shift that I made for myself, but also training my team. And this eliminated what I'm going to share with you guys. I don't know if you ever feel like you've got a revolving door into your office and your calendar just explodes with meeting after meeting after meeting. But one of the shifts that I made years back was putting the rocks into my calendar. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you picture your calendar, if there's nothing on it, it's all white space, right? And by rocks, what I mean is I have every single day my bedtime, so go to sleep at 10 p.m. and I think it's set for 6 a.m. and it's recurring every single day, so I can see that that's blocked. I think it's color-coded, and so that's blocked in my calendar. I don't need to think about it. If we're watching Netflix or we're up late, I get a little notification on my phone, and it's almost like a little contract that gets me back into my zone, because I know if I go to bed at that time and wake up at that hour, I'm my most productive self. After that, I've got my meditate, exercise, my morning routine. That's in my calendar every single day. I don't need to think about it. I'm not a robot, so I don't do this all of the time, but I see it, and I'm more inclined to do it because I don't need to think about it. I just know here's the time to do it. And then it's just a matter of building up those habits. And then after that, I've got my morning, my power routine, which is just setting up my day for success, planning things out, and I will tackle the hardest thing for the day, typically first thing. And so that's my little daily power routine. That's in my calendar. My weekly meeting with my team, it's the same agenda, it's the same time every single week. And I can't tell you, before, when we used to have meetings without a solid agenda and they were all over the place, this is just one of those weekly routines that we've built and cultivated. I don't need to think about it. It just happens every single Monday and Tuesday across our businesses. And so, even like date night with your partner, or going on dates, one-on-one dates with your kids, put them in your calendar. And so you don't need to think about it. If that's something that's important to you, put it in your calendar. So how often you want to do it with your kids, let's say, is it monthly? Put that in your calendar. Because the other thing that I've learned, and what we teach again, is that happiness and fulfillment. So here's the thing, your goals and your plans can and will change, right? We're dynamic creatures, we're always changing. And so it's okay a year from now if you want to move in a different direction. The thing that doesn't change and won't change, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts, is your values. Your values won't change. And so if spending time with your kids is something that you value, put it in your calendar. And if you're walking your talk, you're going to feel much more at peace with how you're living your life. Knowing that, things might shift, we might go in a different direction, but hey, I'm living a healthy life. I'm, volunteering. I'm spending quality time with my kids, and so put it in your calendar. That's the first and best way that you can make that commitment intentionally. And then the last thing I would share with you is anytime you have to think about, we're out of batteries, we're out of toothpaste, we're out of, shampoo, soap, all that stuff. We have a recurring. So my wife and I have a board that we share, and these things are recurring. So that we don't need to think about it. We go through, I think my shampoo is every 3 months, and it's just automated. I don't need to think about it, and I never run out. And so all these little things stack up, and this is the big aha, the big epiphany I had, was that they consume the same amount of calories as the important decisions. And so you're going to be just making poor decisions if you leave room for all of these little trivial things to suck up the calories in your brain and eat away at that cognitive load, your cognitive capacity, your capacity to make good decisions. So anyways, it's I think it's a really useful framework to think about your decision fatigue and that game of eliminating all of those unnecessary decisions And again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Progress over perfection. So just think about today, what is one small decision that you can eliminate. And then, tomorrow or next week, pick another and another and another. And it's going to stack up over the coming weeks, months, and years. And your life is going to transform big time. So anyways, I'm back at the office. I'm going to finish up the day. I hope that was helpful. Again, I really appreciate you guys who are checking in and listening and following this journey and this podcast. Really, really appreciate it. Hope that was useful as always, and I will talk to you guys soon. Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.